What's up, you guys? My name is Aubrey and this is my channel, and today I want to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. More specifically, I want to break down some of the resources that you can use and you can take advantage of if you're somebody who is stuck with your PPP loan application. You see, there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of people and business owners out there who have applied for the PPP but have not heard anything from their loan provider, have had their application in a black hole, so to speak, and they don't know what to do. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the resources and some of the things that you can do to move that application along. So let's get started. We are now a year into the PPP. We have the first draw of the PPP and the second draw of the PPP. And though there are more and more people across the country who are getting funding and who are actually getting money through these programs, there are even more people who have said that they applied for the PPP, they were in the process of getting their funds, and then their loan provider went radio silent. The worst example of this is Cabbage, also known as K Servicing. You see, Cabbage was an online lender that I recommended a lot last summer, in the summer of 2020. They were a great online provider for the PPP loan. But last year in 2020, they were actually bought out by American Express. But the portion of the business that was left behind was K Servicing, which was the portion of the business that handled PPP loans. As a result, there are thousands of people who received the first draw of PPP funds last year through Cabbage. They went back to Cabbage to get their second draw of PPP funds, only to be left in the dark, disappointed, and without their money. This story is a story that is far too similar across the entire country, with different banks, different lenders, and people in different industries. There are countless reports out there of people who applied for the PPP, who went through the process of filling out the application, providing their necessary information, doing everything they needed to do, but then for whatever reason, their loan is stuck in a constant state of limbo. And these people have not received their funds, but they're also not able to go to another lender and request funds because of the fact that they have an active application. This is something that is really unfortunate, and it is far too common, but it is something that can be detrimental to people who want to get PPP funds or people that need PPP funds to keep their business open. So I think that it's incredibly important to explore some of the different avenues that you can go down if you're somebody who's experiencing this state of limbo with your PPP application. Now, before we dig in, I would like to state that this state of limbo that I'm speaking of, the experience of people applying for the PPP and then never hearing anything back, or going through the process of the application and then their application just goes dark, this is not something that is exclusive to Cabbage and K Servicing. This is something that was recently reported on by CNBC about K Servicing and Cabbage, but I've heard these stories dozens, if not hundreds of times, for people who went with traditional brick and mortar banks, people that went with online lenders, people that went non-traditional routes. This is a story that is common amongst every different type of PPP lender out there. So if you're somebody that didn't bank with Cabbage, but maybe you're having the same problem, the advice that I'm laying out in this video will also apply to you as well. So the first thing that you'll want to do before you start the process of trying to move your application along, and really this is something you probably should have done before you even did your application in the first place, is make sure that you have all of the information that you need in order to successfully apply for the PPP. I have done so many different videos on this topic. I have a playlist down in the description below if you're interested in checking out some of those videos. But basically, when it comes to applying for the PPP, there are very specific information that you'll need. Number one is your Schedule C. You will, without a doubt, need to provide a copy of your Schedule C. Number two is your ID information. The lender will most likely ask you for your front and back pictures of your driver's license. Also, depending on what route you went down to apply, whether you have employees, whether you don't have employees, whether you have an LLC, whether you don't have an LLC, all of these different examples will dictate different documents that are required. But in some cases, you may need to provide your LLC formation documents. In a lot of cases, you'll have to provide payroll documentation and proof that you're paying the payroll that you're claiming that you're paying. There is a lot of documentation that you are required to provide. And the more money that you are requesting, the more documentation you most likely will have to provide in order for your application to be approved. So make sure that you have that documentation there. Make sure that it was all provided whenever it needed to be provided. And if you're somebody who applied a while back and you still haven't made any progress on your application, I would check your email to make sure that you didn't miss any email from your lender. And I would also log into your lender's portal to make sure that there isn't any required documentation that you forgot to provide. That would most likely and should be your first step that you do to get the application rolling again. Once you've made sure that all of your documentation is there and you are good to go on that front, and you still have not made any progress on your application, then the next step would be to see if you've received your SBA number. If you've submitted all of your documentation and you have not received an SBA number, then this could mean a handful of different things. Number one, it could mean that your application was denied. Remember that there are a handful of different reasons as to why your application could have been denied. It could have been denied because maybe your business was informed in the right period of time in order to qualify for the PPP. Maybe you don't have the tax documents that are required to get the funds. Maybe you didn't make enough to support getting a second draw PPP. There are a handful of different reasons as to why you could have been denied. But if you did not receive an SBA number, this could certainly be the case. Another reason as to why you may have never received an SBA number is if you submitted a duplicate application. This is where the PPP can get pretty messy. If you're somebody who applied for the PPP through one lender and you were denied for whatever reason, or maybe you didn't finish the application, or whatever the case is, if you applied for the PPP through one lender and then you went and applied through a second lender for the same draw of PPP funds, then that could throw a code and that could cause issues. You should only attempt to apply through one lender. Do not apply through multiple, because that will cause complications. It can cause for you to be denied even if you weren't technically supposed to be denied. And when it comes to the second draw PPP, there are even more reasons as to why you could have been denied. You could have been denied because you're simply not eligible for the second draw. Remember, the second draw is more targeted than the first draw. It could have been denied because the SBA couldn't validate and couldn't fact check your first draw PPP. It could have been denied because your EIN number or TIN number did not match for the second draw. There are a ton of other reasons as to why that PPP could have been denied. When it comes to a PPP denial, in a perfect world, you should be notified of that denial. But keep in mind that this is not a perfect world, and there are a lot of people who have been denied the PPP and they don't really even know it because the SBA never let them know. So if these things that I've just spoken about apply to you, there is a decent chance that you've simply been denied the PPP and you have not been notified of that fact yet. Next, if you did receive an SBA loan number, but you have not been contacted by your lender, this could mean a handful of different things as well. Now, the way that the PPP works is that the lender that you're applying through, as well as the SBA, are kind of working in conjunction with one another to ensure that the funds are being distributed accurately and to businesses that actually are eligible for the funds. And during this entire process, there is a review of your application to ensure that all of this is true. It's a process to ensure that you are who you say you are, you have a legitimate business, you are eligible for the PPP, and that you are doing the numbers that you say you're doing. Now, if you are somebody who has not been contacted by your lender, but you did receive an SBA number, there is a chance that your loan got flagged during that review process. Now, that doesn't mean that the SBA is accusing you of committing fraud. It doesn't mean that you won't get the PPP funds, but it most likely does mean that you will need to provide some more documentation that your business is legit. So in this case, I would have some important documents ready to provide for your lender. I would get your LLC documentation in line. If you don't have an LLC, then I would try to gather all of the information that you have proving that you have a gig job and that you work in the gig economy. I would provide bank statements. If you have a P&L, I would certainly provide that. Really, any information that you can find that proves that you are doing the business that you say you're doing will immensely help in this situation, and it will help move your application along, and it will help move it past this fraudulent review phase. Next is the process of just getting your funds. And there are a lot of people out there who have said that they've gone through this entire process, they signed their loan application, they signed their agreement, and then they've been waiting for funds for weeks, if not months. If this is something that applies to you, there are a few things that you can do. Number one is to stay on top of your lender. Call them, email them, bug them, make sure that they know that you exist and that you are waiting for your funds. You want to make sure to stay on top of your lender as much as possible. Number two, make sure that you are not getting any of your important emails sent to junk. There's a chance that the emails from your lender may be going to your junk folder and you may not even know it. Number 3, make sure that the bank information that you put on the application is accurate and that it goes to your bank. There is always a chance that there was a typo in your application, and as a result, the funds were distributed to the wrong bank account. And this is a very, very bad situation if this is the case for you. Another kind of non-traditional method that you can pursue to get your funds is by contacting the Better Business Bureau. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I never felt like contacting the BBB is something that actually worked, but in doing research for this video, I found literally hundreds of complaints from people who complained through the Better Business Bureau about their PPP lender, and these people actually reported having their issue fixed. Let's look at Cabbage or K Servicing, for example. If we go through their BBB website, you can see so many instances of these people complaining about the PBB. They say that their desired outcome is to get funded, and then K Servicing response saying that they did get funded and that K Servicing addressed the issue. The fact is, having an abundance of complaints submitted through the BBB is not a good thing. It is not a good thing for the business. And because of that, people take complaints through the Better Business Bureau very seriously. And I think this K Servicing Better Business Bureau page is proof to that. And you can find the exact same thing with other lenders out there as well. So if last resort happens, number 1, you could potentially try to contact your Congress member. It's not going to be as effective for the PPP as it is for the EIDL, but you can still try. Number 2 is contact the Better Business Bureau. Submit a legitimate complaint, be very detailed with your complaint, and see if your loan provider responds. It is definitely worth a try, and it has proven to work hundreds of times with other loan applicants. With that being said, you guys, I wanted to make this video because this is a question that I get quite a lot. I get a lot of emails from people saying that their PPP loan is MIA, that they haven't heard anything of it, that they don't know what to do. And to be honest, I don't know the exact answer to any of these questions, and I do not work for these banks, and so I don't really have inside information. But this is the best advice that I can give you based off of my own experience, based off of the people that I've spoken to, as well as the research that I've done over the last year as well. I think all of the things that I've outlined in this video is a really great start, and if all else fails, contact the Better Business Bureau and potentially try to contact your Congress member at all. Both of those efforts are ones that will certainly not hurt. But like always, you guys, if you have any questions, comments, or if you have anything to add, then make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.